Okay, I eliminated every possible source of interference with the signal, and I coupled the oscilloscope to the RF output, as you can see, via a small cap. And now it does seem to work, sort of. I'm on the B band, and the B band goes from 310 kilohertz to 1.1 megahertz. At least that's what the panel says, as you can see here. But as you can see, the signal is really dirty. But if I scale down the signal, so if I turn on the tuning button, the frequency does become lower. So by eliminating any possible sources of problems, so by taking out a measurement cable, and more precisely this one, this cable, by eliminating this one and going directly to the RF output, I managed to get an output signal of sorts, and indeed I can select a lower or a higher frequency by turning the tuning knob. So that seems more or less okay. Now I still have the problem of that jittery signal. I mean, it's a very dirty signal, and I really don't know where the source of that jitter comes from. Maybe it's because I took off the box from the RF generator, because as you can see, there's no case around it. So maybe that influences it. So give me a moment to reattach the case to the RF generator, and then we'll give it another try. Well, I put back the box around the RF generator, as you can see. I didn't screw it tight, but it's in the box, so it should be pretty well insulated against any sort of parasitic signal. But unfortunately, it didn't change a thing. I mean, the output signal, I can tune any output signal frequency I like, but it's still a very dirty signal. And I'll be damned if I know where that comes from. I'm beginning to suspect that it might be a problem with the power supply. I think that the power supply is inducing parasitic signals, and it maybe even a sort of harmonics in the output signal. I don't know yet, but it suspiciously looks like something that might be induced either by a bad contact or a faulty power supply. Now you'll recall that I did change the electrolytic in the power supply. Actually, there were two electrolytics, and they are in the B plus power line. Brand new electrolytics. I don't know what could be wrong with them. So I'm afraid I'll have to start looking by elimination. So I'll have to start looking first whether it could be the electrolytics, which I doubt. Maybe it's the rectifier in the power supply, because it's a very old germanium diode, and I think that I think maybe the germanium diode might be bad, maybe, or it could be an electrolytic. In any case, in my opinion, what we're seeing now is a correct output signal, an unmodulated output signal, but overlaid with parasitic signals. And well, now starts the tedious process of looking for what could be the source of that parasitic signal. Unfortunately, it's rather late right now, so I think I'll stop here for tonight. I hope you enjoyed this episode in well, in restoring or cleaning or repairing, whatever you want to call it, a Heathkit IG-102 RF signal generator. I'll be back with an update soon, and not in the least because quite soon I might need this RF generator to align the Ever-Ready chassis, which is lying just behind it, as you can see. I finally found out what could possibly be problem of the jitteriness of the signal and all that. As you can see right now, the signal is crystal clear, and I'm on the second scale, which is from 310 kilohertz to 1.1 megahertz. And as I turn up the tuner cap, well, you can see it changes the frequency accordingly, the output frequency. So the waveform is pretty clean and sharp. So yeah, I think there are two possible reasons for the dirtiness, let's say, of the output signal. One of the problems is that I noticed I should avoid any sort of noise inducing connection to the RF generator. So I used the separation cap just to make sure that there could be no stray voltages jumping into my oscilloscope, but it turns out that the voltage level is really very low. Another thing is that the coarse attenuation button is well, as you can see, doesn't seem to work very well. The fine attenuation works okay, I could say, although I don't know, maybe it's a logarithmic pot, I don't know, but in any case, I only get an attenuation level change at the very end of the potentiometer. So maybe the potentiometer is not so good or needs to be replaced. Now the switch, which switches between high and low attenuation, well, as you can see, barely works. Well, you could even say that it doesn't work at all. Well, not really. So that needs looking at. And also, what I realized, and you see, it's never really such a good thing to work on a device when you're tired. Well, that is that I had completely forgotten that this switch stood like this, which means internal modulation AF out. In other words, what I'm seeing there on the screen is a modulated signal, and it's probably modulated with an audible signal, which, well, I can't let you hear right now because I don't have a radio set tuned to the frequency of this RF generator. So in any case, I completely forgot about this. So in effect, what you can do is there is a tiny modulator, a sound generator, in fact, you could say, inside this RF generator, and you can modulate the RF signal with an audible signal. And in fact, you can even modulate the signal with an external source if you wish. And then of course you can attenuate it with this, I think. Now the problem is, of course, I don't have an external function generator yet, so I can't test this function of the RF generator either. So in the end, it all turns out well. The only thing that I need to look at right now is to see whether this button is very dirty or is making a sort of a bad contact or anything like that. And the potentiometer for the fine attenuation works correctly too. Once I have that fixed, I think the RF generator is fit for use, at least I think for doing an alignment. So it'll be interesting to see it function. So that's it for now, guys. All ends well. All is well that ends well, as you say. So yeah, it's a happy ending for tonight. So I hope you enjoyed the whole series and this very last update on the cleaning, repairing and refurbishing of a Heathkit IG-102 RF signal generator. Good night, and I hope I'll see you all very soon. Stay tuned.